You what?
Always into the day I die.
Yes! How did you guys enjoy the film? Let us know. We are watching live as you're commenting and showing us some love. So towards the end of the segment, we will be having a little Q&A, so feel free to throw down your questions. I am sitting with the film director and the main character in the film, Adomako Aman.
Hi everyone, I'm glad you are here.
And we're gonna quickly go over the film. And Adomako, thank you for having me, first of all.
Thank you for being here.
I'm just a regular girl in the regular world.
Listen.
Just trying to do it, okay? I've been following your career since your first documentary.
Dancing in the Dark.
Dancing in the Dark. And what I loved about it was that you were set on kind of showing the other facet of gay culture, which is us, right? The subsect. Mm-hmm. Girls of color and what it's really like. You know, we have a lot of this whole like glam, Studio 54 energy, and all this kind of portrayal of gay nightlife, whether it's kind of like the circuit scene or all these other things, but we kind of get lost, like, you know? So for me, you going into places that build the foundation, like Escuelita, Castro's, no parking, nightclubs in New York to really like build the foundation, showing us kind of, you know, sharing a hookah with a nigga, dancing bachata, and other aspects of what it's like to be gay really set me off. You know, that was when I was like, you know what? She's onto something, and this is what we need to share.
Thank you. For me, I feel like those stories are way more interesting. I feel like as a Black gay man, as a man who's living in this colorful experience of feminine energy, that we're not given the tools. So we have to write our own narrative.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm interested in developing those conversations. That's why we're here today. And, you know, with this work, I put my life into it. You know, I don't get the chance to see people like me. When I say me, like a Black-skinned, dark feminine man just existing.
Okay,
you know,
strong Black lead, period.
yeah, and
Yes.
you know, I want us to feel elevated. You know, that's what this work is about.
Right, we are allowed to be the center of our universe.
Absolutely.
We're not just like side characters.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into it. I love the film. There were parts that left me wanting more. We'll get into that. But the opening scene when you guys are sharing that, like, you know, hotel room fantasy, and it's kind of like talking about how you always pictured yourself. And I think that's interesting because we don't really have a reference, right?
Right.
We're constantly trying to figure out what the happy ending looks for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we all relate to trying to be the main girl
Right.
in the music video,
Mm-hmm.
and like wanting to be like safe and like, you know, feeling yourself and having someone that rides for you.
Right.
So when you mentioned the concept of like, you know, that his duty is to protect my peace, like that had me. What led you to that?
Because niggas is out here trying to destroy the peace.
Stop.
Okay?
Stop.
Like, and it's important that like we see value in ourselves, you
Right.
know? I feel like we don't ever, like I said before, we're not given the tools. So
Right.
we walk in spaces that are unfamiliar and we're writing the narrative. And
Right.
sometimes that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we rather think with our bodies than our minds. And so
I hear you.
you know, and we're so much more to that. That's the point of this work. That's the point of what I'm doing.
Right.
And, you know, when I first started off with Dancing in the Dark, when I started off with any of the projects I'm doing, I'm like, how can I continue to build a conversation of Black and brown queer bodies existing in queer identity?
Right. So the girls are gonna kill me if I don't get into this. But we all wanna know, like, who's Daniel, because, period.
Girl, you know more than I do.
Right, because trade is what trade does.
But seriously, Daniel is, everyone knows a Daniel.
Girl.
Everyone knows that fuckboy.
I'm telling you.
And I feel like, you know, everyone has had that invitation. Like, there's been this thing where like the DL guy feels
This
invited.
hallway scene
Yes.
had me. Like, when I tell you that I can remember vividly being in an environment where like a guy is just like, you want to smoke?
Mm-hmm.
And like my anus dropping all the way to the bottom.
Oh my God.
Like, you know, like what's that about though?
But you know what though? It's like I said before, we think with our bodies and not with our minds.
Right.
And so like when they see like the shoes, they see the hair, when they see the book bag, when there's like, how can I get this opportunity to talk to this guy?
Right, the commentary.
He's visibly gay.
Yeah.
And like, I know that he'll give me what I want because, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's a very complex situation.
Right, but it's the subtleties that let you know. Because you know me, I would have been running into that elevator like fucking like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No say.
Yeah.
That being said, we all want more of, well, I wanted more of the car scene. Because girl, like when I'm telling you I was feeling it, also vivid memories of like being in a car with a man and feeling like, ooh, you know what I mean? This could be it, girl. I'm gonna ride away, I don't care. I'm gonna take this ticket and I don't,
Yes.
right?
So good.
Like that's such a crazy feeling, but I like the fact that it wasn't really focused on that and you kind of like shifted the whole narrative to like the park scene when you guys were together and you start to like go off on this thought of like, you know what, this is what it feels like. Like this is it, just like kicking it at the park and like what that means.
Can I be candid with you real quick?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I couldn't like go into that scene that you're talking about is because it's all about budget. Okay?
Period.
And so for me, like, and you know, I want people to challenge me on this because
Right.
when I say this next statement, people are gonna feel this way. No one's doing it like I am.
Not the
I'm
statement.
giving my life to this.
Yeah.
And when I say I'm giving my life, I'm considering wardrobe. I'm considering, you know, the safety of my characters. I'm considering, you know, catering. I'm considering every aspect to create this story and it be well and look good.
Right, because-
I want to give like the viewers an experience.
Right. Ultimately, like, just so it goes on the record, like, this is completely autonomous and independent.
Right. No
You-
sponsors, no executive
You've made
producers.
another film, and like I love and appreciate and see the growth, and I think that it is a heart out here, you know, to make these kind of things happen. And why I loved your invitation to this project was because seldom do we get to see this kind of character like, be portrayed as the main and not just as a gesture.
And, you know, I just want to touch back on something that you were saying about the park scene. The park scene was a very important scene because there's always this narrative that, like, queer people are doing too much.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm a victim to that idea as well.
Right.
But the thing is like, we are just wanting to exist. And, you know, it's a statement, we want to exist. And so, like, that scene basically illustrated, like, at that moment, like, Daniel was like, you're too much.
Right.
And sometimes, like, a lot of black joy, especially a lot of black queer joy, is knocked off. And so...
I've seen performative.
Right.
Right. And then not as, like, something that's genuine. I like the fact that you try to get that together, right? Where, like, the work is encompassing not just, like, the characteristics of a personality, but really, like, that vulnerability. Which really brings me into when Daniel's character is at the studio and he is talking about, I'm trying to protect my peace. And for me, that's always like, you know it's real when the trade starts quoting you, right? When it's just like, oh wait, this is, yeah, he's catching feelings. Like, it's definitely beyond that, because now, like, you know, I'm changing the way he sees the world. I like that, and I think that shows to me that it's beyond sex,
Yeah.
right?
It's, when do we ever get to exist outside of that, you know? And
Yeah.
so, like I said before, like, my co-star is attractive.
Right.
He's beautiful, but he's also talented.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not going to objectify him just because of anything, but rather, like, who is he as a person? Who is this
Right.
character as a person?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's you know, I feel like when we see a lot of queer narrative that deals with, like, black bodies, and particularly, it's always like, how big his dick is.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just, we're so much more than that. And I feel like that kind of like,
well, we're seeking more than just that, right?
You know?
We're seeking connection.
You know, yeah.
And I definitely see that. And I love you for that.
I love you.
That brings me back to the cringe question.
Okay.
I think that moment when you go off and you say, what are we doing? That's when I was just like, fuck, bitch, like, don't fuck it up. You know, I'm like, you got a good thing going, sis. But like, that's a big moment, right? Like, I feel like the character is standing up for himself and asking himself, like, what is the future looking like? Did you feel that way as you were writing that facet of it?
I feel like it's once again going into the unknown, you know? And for someone like a Daniel character, it's like I don't know what we're doing.
Right, the here and now is just enough.
Right, and whereas like the Leon character,
right,
he is so used to this. This has become his lifestyle.
Right.
You know, this is how he's used to receiving love, and I just want to tell young black men, all black men, especially black queer men,
right,
men of color, that like you can be loved and that it's important just to receive more than that.
Girl, you don't gotta choose, you can have it all.
Yeah, we have options.
Okay. And that brings me to my next point, which is another one of my favorite scenes. Because like, who are we without our community?
This.
Who are we without our friends? And you know, we've all been at that point where like you're feeling a dude, and it's like you know, we're talking. It's not here nor there, but like relationships are complicated and feelings get involved. And you know, you go to your girlfriends. And they tell you like, yo, like the only thing you can do is focus on yourself and be the best you can be. But in that moment, you start to question yourself, right? You're like, you know, maybe it's me, maybe I need to be like fitter, maybe I need to be that. And I feel like for me, that was like one of my points where I completely related to that. I feel like as soon as like we're feminine presenting or our queerness comes into question, as soon as a relationship or anything has to be appraised, right? We start to question ourselves and be like, am I too much? Like, it was definitely me. And we automatically start thinking that it's something that we did.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, like, I've always felt beautiful because, you know, I come from love.
And that's like, a quote.
I've always felt beautiful because, you know, I look at myself and I see my mom, and my mom looks at me and, you know, it's like whenever when she looks at me, she's like, oh, like, you're my work of art, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I feel like a lot of black men don't have that. And I don't know, there's a lot that we have to work through. Because like I said before, we are in a space of the unknown. And when it comes to like I feel like a lot of queer men feel like they have like, because once again, we're always searching for romance. We want to receive romance, and we feel like by receiving romance, that means having a specific body type, having a specific image.
And also seeming like all we have to offer is sex.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something that I feel for sure is always portrayed. The concept of being just a body versus the whole 3D, 360 aspect of like what it is to share space with another human, and like those moments, you know, like. When
and I want to also just say like it's okay to like have, you know, your assets, honor your assets and all. You know, I want to say that, but like we're more than that. And when I think of people who
like body's real,
right?
We're not saying no,
right?
But like at some point,
but this is beauty right here.
Yeah,
like this right here is beautiful.
Yeah. Exactly.
And no one can take that away from me.
Worthy of being loved.
Exactly.
I hear you. And I definitely see that. That reminds me of like the final scene.
Okay.
Which was another like cringe-worthy moment for me when.
So many of these.
Girl, because you know I'm more like holding on to my seat. And when you pull up to the studio, because you know you don't know like the way that it's
pumping through,
the way that it's sold, you don't know if it's gonna be like, fuck, did this bitch just show up? You know what I mean? Because she would. Or like what is going down? And there is that aspect of him kind of opening up and being vulnerable and showing you like, yeah, you know, this is where I've been working at, like you didn't know. And then his friends come in and he has to present to you. And like that's when I was like, fuck, this is when the movie gets crazy. Like, is this a horror film? Like, where it's gonna happen? I feel like subconsciously we're taught to kind of fear masculine presenting men.
Right.
And think that like automatically, like if like niggas gonna pull through, it might not be a safe space. And in that moment, his friend says like, something like, if we really want to be free, we kind of have to like
Work together.
work together.
Yeah.
To me, that was like definitely a testament to like, as people of color in general, it's radical self-acceptance.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of like the idea of like really taking in all of who we are. And we are all of that, right?
Yeah.
The queer facet, the feminine facet, you know, the gay aspect of it all. Is that what you meant by peace?
With peace, it's about like maintaining that, like having confidence in yourself, having this idea of like self-love before you begin to love something else. And I'm still working through that, you know? And I feel like that's what makes life as exciting, that you're a work in progress.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, like with the validation part where he says that, you know, like how are we gonna be free if we don't work together, or something of the derivative of that. It's like, who gets to decide who we are? Like, who's making these decisions?
Right.
Like, I live in this experience. I deserve to make the decision of who I am, who I get to be around, and you know, and that's why we're here today. Like, because this is a brotherhood, but this is also a sisterhood.
Okay.
You know, and so it's important that we like, if you're not winning, I'm not winning. So let's work on winning together. Because if we're not, there's no point.
But also, like, very much a reality.
Right.
Right? Like, the fact that these men were accepting and they were open, it's not crazy. You know?
It's not.
It's not like something out of this world.
At all.
So I thought that for me, that was really kind of like refreshing to see, you know? I'm not one that needs like a total happy ending, but that definitely like led me to like, okay, like, you know what? Like, yeah.
It's important. It's important for us to believe we can have a happy ending. I feel like people are dying. Like people are in search of this.
Yeah, because of the fear, right? The fear is letting you believe that like these things are not possibilities.
And it's not attainable, so what's the point?
Right? But like now we have something to aspire to. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
The film was super cute, and I know that we're in the beginnings of something that has potential to be something a lot larger. And I look forward to developing narratives with you where we are empowered, where we are front center, and we show our complexities outside of just sex, outside of just being men of color, our feelings, the nuance between having sex and intimacy, what friendship looks like, what understanding looks like. And I think that, you know, obviously having off-camera conversations, we've shared this concept of you really trying to illustrate that. And that's why I love you and I love your work and I stand with you. I hope you guys enjoyed the film as much as we did. And I want you guys to know that there's a Q&A section and this is it. So if you have a couple comments, questions, if you want to show some love, don't shout out your mom. This is probably not the opportunity for that. But let us know in the comments. We're here. Lex, do we have any questions, honey?
Yes, we do. We would like to know who inspired Daniel. Is there any one person?
Meow.
Daniel is everyone.
Are we sure?
Daniel is everyone. No, seriously, and that's not in like the Hoey term, which that's okay too.
Yeah, like, right?
But you know,
I'm start calling the trade Daniel.
but I'll tell you this. There was this one guy that like kind of like catapulted it out of many guys.
Yeah.
And basically, I will never forget this. We were having a conversation, and he told me like he was on the DL.
Right.
And he then disclosed to me about when the process of his birth. He was saying, like, I know it sounds crazy. He was saying that when he was in his mom's womb,
Right.
that he was screaming inside his mom's womb.
That's a good recollection.
And I don't feel like he like put the two together.
Right.
But like he's screaming in silence. And I thought that was very moving. So, you know, Daniel is inspired partially by him, but literally there are so many Daniels.
Girl,
that
I have
could tell
so
you
many
about.
Daniels.
There you go.
So many cars. Probably too many. Things I shouldn't have done.
Right.
Is there anyone else that we need to answer to?
Do you think that DL relationships are more common than people think?
Do we think that DL relationships are more common than people think?
Absolutely. And like when we say DL, like first of all, like of course this is like a gay thing, you know, but like it's about discretion.
Do you think it's like more prominent in our culture, for example?
Absolutely.
Right, because of that whole concept of like not really being able to accept ourselves fully.
It's survival, you
Right.
know? One thing that I did before I began writing this project, I was looking up like the richest billionaire queer people. And there are no black queer like billionaires. Like I saw one transgender one who was white. The richest, from what my knowledge is, the richest queer person is Giorgio Armani. He's worth like 7.9 billion. And I was like, I'm sure there are a lot of black men who feel like I want to be a billionaire. I want to be the next nigga. And it's just like, I can't be that nigga if I'm fucking niggas.
Yeah.
And so,
but we're here to say that I am single, and that is a possibility.
so it's just like people are navigating through safety. You know, people feel like a lot of their livelihood is at risk by disclosing their sexuality.
Yeah. Okay, that was good. Lex, do we have another one?
Are you working on a film project? And if you are, when is it coming out?
Ooh.
I literally have 2 projects that I've written. I write a lot about my experiences, but it's all about budget.
Right?
You know, like I said before, like
we're looking to collab.
You know, and so all of this is coming out of my pocket.
Yeah.
So when I do a project, I'm doing it out of love and because I care for it, because it's important and it matters.
Yeah.
Like these stories matter.
Right. No, and I also want to say, like, off the cuff, like, we talk about the looks, we talk about the lighting, we talk about how fucking fab the whole production was. You know, I like that you're paying attention to that because it's not just telling the stories, it's how we tell our stories.
You know, I always feel like when I see, and this is okay because I celebrate all artists, you know, especially all queer artists, but there are not enough of us. But I feel like when I see a lot of films, it's like the outfit is the body, you know, and that's okay. But I want to dive deeper. Like what, you know, like.
The girls are giving.
Exactly.
And they should give.
They should be, we should be able to receive it. We should be able to get nice things.
Right.
So like, it's important.
Nice things for everyone.
Exactly.
2022.
And so when I do a project, it's like I'm not gonna give you like some crappy, like guttery, like it's more or less like I want to deliver something for you that can last a lifetime.
By real girls for real girls.
There you go.
Period.
Absolutely.
Awesome. How are we doing on time? We're going?
Let's do one more question.
One more question.
One more from Joel.
Okay.
Joel asks, how did you approach writing the script, and what was most important to you in its execution?
That's a real question.
You know, one thing that I can say is that my community really supports me.
Do you feel like you're informed by the people around you?
Yeah, like I feel like, you know, I have a good group of people who support what I'm doing. And so I remember I was talking to someone and someone was like, when are you doing your next project?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And then for some reason, like I had this idea like in my mind.
Right.
But then I was like, this is the perfect time. Like we're in a pandemic.
Panorama full.
And so why not put put pen to paper?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, and so it was that. And like, of course I overspend, like I always overspend, but I want to serve the girls.
Yeah.
And then anyone else who's involved is a bonus.
Right.
So that's what's important to me, is serving our community as Black, as, you know, POC people. And like I said, anyone who else is outside of that is just a bonus, and thank you, because it's important that our stories are heard and honored.
Yes, very much that. Mm-hmm. One more question?
How do you think that your limited budget affected the process of creation?
I don't write things. I'm not ethical. I'm keeping it real with you.
Yeah.
I don't write things that I can't produce.
Right.
So it's just like, I understand.
We still don't have the penthouse fantasy working out yet.
Right, and so
Right.
I understand that, like, you know, I'm still building my audience, and that's why, like, I want to always tap in, but, like, I don't write things that I can't afford.
Yeah.
So it's just.
But somehow you make it happen,
Yeah.
right? Because some of it is things you can't afford, but you start to project yourself, and here you are manifesting a brand new film.
Absolutely.
Right? And the complexities of what that is, and how you challenge yourself from where you started off with a handheld camera, creeping into clubs, talking to people in their houses, to where we are now. And I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Because perseverance is half of the game, you know? And we're here for the long run.
Thank
for
you.
sure.